He's Howard Eibach, a former copywriter and creative director and the author of 2 books on the creative brief.
And he's Henry Gomez, an ad agency strategist with over 27 years of experience. Together, we're the Brief Brothers. We love talking about creative briefs, briefing, and advertising. We're back with another episode, Henry, and today we're going to continue with another example of a creative brief and our opportunity to talk about it, dive into it, tear it apart, explore it. This one is for a competition for young creatives with a prize attached to it for Nintendo. Let me put it up on the screen so we can all look at it, and I'll read through it. It's for Game Boy Advance SP, and there's going to be an award. Now, the second page to this brief are the details of the prize, how it'll be handed out, and some of the legalese. So the essence, the meat of the creative brief fit on this single page. So we're going to take a look at that. Why are we advertising? Further establish GBA SP's dominant position in the category. Role of communication, solidify the GBA SP as a pop culture icon and make it a required purchase. Who are we talking to? Teen and young adults, especially guys, are the most highly targeted demographic in the US today, as not only because they have been identified as one of the highest levels of discretionary income, but also because they are immersed and influence pop culture. Brands and items become integral pieces of pop culture when they are simple and fit into the broader lifestyle of society. GBA SP's simple design and portability has untethered this generation from their TV gaming console and enabled them to enjoy gaming as a part of their on-the-go lifestyle. What do we need to say? Symbol of freedom, and it's in red. Why is this true and relevant? GBA SP has allowed teens and young adults the freedom to game anywhere, anytime. As something they always have with them, it quickly is becoming an integral part of their life, thus a part of the cultural landscape. GBA SP continues to be the handheld gaming system on the market, despite introductions by N-Gage and others. The simplicity of the hardware is its strongest selling point. Tonality, iconic, self-confident, empowering. The brand idea. Who are you? Mandatory inclusions, the URL, and hardware as hero, advertising requirements, magazine adverts. And we can see there's a deadline, end of September 2004. So this brief is almost 20 years old. I'm going to turn it over to you, Henry, and you can start off with your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, so starting with the fact that this is for a competition and the creatives aren't going to have a ton of background on the brand, and maybe part of that is, since it's a competition, they want them to go out and do their own research, or I'm not sure, but this doesn't feel very inspiring to me. I mean, it feels like an assignment. It's an assignment here, do this, but it doesn't. I don't think this would cut it necessarily as an agency brief for professional creatives. And the reason I say that is, really, it starts to fall down for me at the target audience description. It feels more like a slide from a PowerPoint deck to the client or from the client than a target description that inspires you in the creative brief. Teen and young adults, especially guys, are the most highly targeted demographic in the US today. Like, it just feels like, this isn't written to help me understand who these people are, what makes them tick, what they like about gaming, what they like about, portable gaming, which is what this product is. So I just don't see really, we get to that idea of symbol of freedom, but and they talk about being untethered from like your gaming console and your TV, but they don't really do that laddering exercise that you teach, Howard. Why is that important to me? And why is that important to me? And I'm making it up, but because I could take it with me. Why is that important to me? Because I have a short attention span, because I like to be entertained everywhere I go. We could start like building up like the psychological reasons that people would want to take a game with them and that's not really being done in this brief. So I think it's falling short there. The tone also, you know, 20 years ago, I wasn't focusing that much on tone. Probably I would have thrown three words together like this, or three phrases. Iconic, you know, it's one thing to judge something as iconic after the fact, but what does iconic mean if I'm trying to write a tone? Um, Self-confident. I think I know what self-confident feels like. Empowering, yes, empowering, but again, based, what are we empowering them to do? Um, is it just portability for portability's sake? I don't know. So I'm a little bit underwhelmed by this brief, but then again, I recognize that this probably wasn't a full-fledged kind of creative brief, and maybe not as much love was given to it as could have been. Maybe the organizers of this contest solicited some information from the client and the agency, and they just kind of hacked this together real quick. Um, you know, would be interesting to see what was submitted based on kind of this call for entries, this brief. But you know, again, the purpose of this exercise is never really to attack the brief writer at all. It's really to say, what can we learn from this, and how would we have improved it if we were writing it?
Well, I agree with you. You know, as a creative looking at this brief, I would have far more questions about on trying to understand the assignment rather than where can I go with it. And that's the difference between a good brief and a bad brief. I agree with you. We don't want to attack the brief writer, but I do want to say that there are some clear flaws in the way this was put together. I mean, the first thing that jumped at me was it just wasn't even proofread. I see
Yeah.
grammar and spelling errors. It's like that to me just telegraphs it was done quickly without much thought. And you give a first draft of anything and you're going to get first draft creative and response. Although I think a lot of creatives would overlook this and find a way to try to hit home runs. But if we're trying to inspire young creatives to do good work, this is a disappointment. And it's doubly disappointing, as you say, because this is supposed to challenge young creatives with a prize for the quality of their work on behalf of the client for which they're doing the work.
Well, they're making it more of a challenge by giving
Yeah,
a mediocre brief, right? But
yeah.
a more inspiring brief ideally will lead to better work. And one of the prizes is that the work would run fully credited to the creative that developed it. So you know, if the objective is to get the best creative possible, you want to put the best creative brief forward possible. That said, it does have some positives going for it. Number one, it's on one page, so it's very brief. It has all of the required elements that we've come to expect in a brief. It's very legible. It's very cleanly designed. It's appealing to the eye. There is some usable information here, no doubt, but I think there's superfluous information and there's stuff missing that would, I think, have made it a much better brief.
I like the point that you made earlier that it's too much inside baseball. And if you don't know this brand, you're going to have nuts and bolts questions that distract you from a more emotional, higher level thinking that you want to apply to this assignment. I don't get what this means because I don't understand the technical details here. Now, there's not a lot of them. And, you know, to your point about the positives, there are a couple of bullet points, and I've seen briefs with a heck of a lot more bullet points than this one. So it is written out in sentences, which means it has the potential to be a narrative or to tell a story. It's kind of a weak story, but at least it's in the direction of trying to tell a story. I think you're right that the tone of who we are talking to sounds rote and too marketing speak rather than actually human or humane. And I don't get some of the things, you know, the idea of the brand idea, who are you? And why did they stop asking questions in the second half of the brief? Everything was why, who, why, or what, and then it just says tonality. I would prefer to say, what is our brand personality, or what is the brand voice? What is this thing called the brand idea? What are the mandatories? A question just changes the way you think about the brief. So C plus. I mean, we're not really grading these things, but I would say C plus. It needs some work. It needs another draft or two, and maybe a creative to sit in and help the brief writer punch things up a bit. Good stuff, Henry.
Good stuff, Howard.
He's Henry Gomez.
And he's Howard Eibach, and together we're the Brief Brothers. Till next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.